last week, the Escorts Kubota board approved the amalgamation of Escorts Kubota India and Kubota Agri Machinery India into Escorts Kubota Limited via an issue of EKL shares to Kubota. The amalgamation, the company said, will help increase efficiencies in operations. We find out more. We have Bharat Madan, the President Finance Group CFO and Corporate Head at Escorts Kubota, joining us. Mr. Madan, good morning and thanks a lot for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about what this amalgamation will bring to the table for you, and can you give us some kind of timeline on the turnaround of the Escorts Kubota India JV, because it has been loss-making?
Yeah, good morning, Sonia.
Mr. Madan, is my voice reaching you? We can't, Mr. Madan, I'm sorry, we can't hear you at all. So we're going to try and redial that connection with you. But for now, the market is really picking up pace. Just look at that. The Nifty is up 90 points. It's been very volatile all through the day, but now at the highest point, and the dips are getting bought, especially in cement. Don't lose sight of that. Ambuja and India Cements are both up about 5 to 6 odd %. That clearly is the space to be in.
I know it doesn't look like an intraday chart. It looks like, many days charts just intervene into one, but all over the place. 17,650 now, by the way, on Nifty, but it's very volatile. 17,675, of course, will be the first resistance. That's a 20-day exponential moving average, and then, of course, 17,700, well documented that the trend line. So let's see. But the good thing for the market is that the Bank Nifty sort of assumed the leadership back. That was the index which and again it's reversed from between that level of the 5 and 10-day exponential moving average on the Bank Nifty. 40,400 to 40,600 was the zone. And right from that level, 40,600, the Bank Nifty has bounced back. So it will be interesting to see how that one moves. Mitesh Thakkar is now actually joining us for some fresh trades because the market's been surging. Mitesh, morning again. So the banks leading the charge once again. It's been that kind of a market, right? Every time there's a decline, the Bank Nifty bails you out. But what next, and what would be your stock calls at 10 a.m.?
The Bank Nifty also hit a new high, I think, last week. And then while the end of the week, which is Friday session, was slightly weak, we still got a highest ever weekly closing on the Bank Nifty chart. In that sense, I think, the Bank Nifty is the outperforming index between the two. But the intraday charts for both the Nifty and the Bank Nifty are not very positive in the short term. So I think, you might see this bounce back because 17,500 is holding on nicely. At least we didn't get an hourly close below that. Despite the fact that in the first half an hour we did go trade significantly below that, about 50-60 points. But I think that means that you could have a pullback to about levels of 17,750, 17,800. I think beyond that would be very difficult. So the market immediate trend still remains on the negative side, even if we go to about 17,800. Only beyond that will I turn positive. So I still have a slightly negative kind of an outlook on the index in the short term. And on the stock side, HUL is a sell. I think would recommend selling here with a stop just around levels of 25.55 for targets of 24.70 on the downside. And the other stock which I think can possibly weaken up is ICICI GI or ICICI General Insurance. That's a conditional sell if it breaks levels of 1200. Go short with a stop at 1222 for targets of 1160.
Okay, Mitesh, thanks a lot for that. Let's try and re-establish our connection with Bharat Madan, the President Finance Group CFO of Escorts. Remember, Escorts is trying to simplify their organizational structure via the amalgamation of Escorts Kubota and Kubota Agricultural India. Mr. Madan, I was asking you about what the synergies are post the amalgamation of the JV entities and also the timeline for the turnaround of Escorts Kubota.
Hi, yeah, good morning, Sonia. Sorry, I think there was some disturbance in the lines earlier.
Yes.
No, so both the JVs, I think we expect, EKI, which is the manufacturing JVs, as you know, it started its production only in September 20. So last year was the first full year of operation, but the capacity utilization there was still very, very low. So we expect the capacity utilization will actually start moving up now. This year also is going up, and next year with the exports also increasing, we expect this JV actually will do well. So by FY24, we expect the JV should be able to be in black. KI, which is the sales company, is already making it's a already profitable venture, and we expect the profit also should start moving up there in another year or 2 years' time.
Okay, so by FY24, you're saying this JV will be profit-making or will turn into a black. Can you tell us what is the progress as far as the localization of Kubota products in India? You were yet to localize the engine production in India. Any timeline on that?
Yeah, so that's a part of our midterm business plan, which we plan to unveil sometime in the middle of November. So yes, engine localization is very much a part of our plan now, because that will be the major cost-saving initiative, which we'll really undertake to make the JVs profitable.
Okay, so by middle of November is when you're planning to localize engine production, and that will help you with major cost saving. When you talk about major cost saving, how much can you bring down costs, and what would this mean for your overall operational performance, because margins have been under a lot of pressure for you?
No, I didn't say that by mid-November we'll localize engine. By mid-November, I said we'll be coming out with a midterm business plan, which will have one of the component as the engine localization. Those localization will take some time, maybe about 2 years' time, by which we'll set up this facility for them in India. But generally, as you mentioned, I think overall the numbers obviously will start turning around as the capacity utilization increases and this inflation pressure stabilizes, which is what the sales JV especially is trying to pass it on to the market. So pass on has been gradual, but now you see the commodity prices have started reversing now, so which is a good news for all the companies in the industry. So that should be a positive trigger for the JVs to become profitable. And actually, idea is ultimately to bring them to the same level at what Escorts profitability is, and that's the target which we're taking for the next 4 or 5 years. We should be able to bring them back to the same margin level what Escorts enjoys today.
Okay, just wanted one number on the utilization level. The utilization level for the manufacturing JV was below 30% last year, right? What does it stand at now?
Yeah, so because they was just started with 2 models which they're making now. So as the product range expands, so the idea is next 2 to 3 years this will be running at a full capacity. But the exports will also start getting produced there. So all the export tractors we intend to make there. So that will also help in utilization of the capacity there. So we expect this year, I think utilization will go up to roughly 40-45%, and by FY24, it should be somewhere around 80% plus.
Oh, okay. So by FY24, you're looking at 80% plus utilization for the JV.
By FY24.
By FY24, correct. All right. That's important. For the tractor industry overall, your peers like M&M have outlined a 3 to 5% growth for the full year, which I reckon could be a bit conservative given how things are improving. But your take on that, what could the growth look like?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of wait and watch. Really, it all depends on the festive season, because that gives almost 40-45% of the sales for the industry. So I think these 3 months are very crucial from September to November. And this time since the season has started earlier now, so you'll have Navratri starting from 26. So obviously you'll see a better trigger coming on the retail side now. So September, October should be a bumper month for the industry. So let's see. I think these 2-3 months are very crucial, and that will decide what sort of growth rate we can expect for the full year for the industry. As of now, the indication we are also giving is about a mid-single-digit growth.
Okay, the street definitely likes what you're saying. The stock is now up over 4%. So coming back to this amalgamation, the stake of Kubota will now go up marginally, but it will go up from about 53.1 to 54.1. What does this mean for the business in the medium term? What will Kubota bring to the table immediately? And how will that add both in terms of operational efficiencies as well as profitability?
So if you look at the low-hanging fruit, obviously the obvious advantage will be, I think, in the export, which will pick up because we will be using the Kubota network globally. They are present in more than 100 countries. And we'll be sourcing tractors which are made by Escorts currently. So the same existing products which we make with some modification will be exporting under the joint brand which is Escorts Kubota. So that volume should start picking up. Then Kubota is also looking at making India as a alternate to the China, but they're doing a lot of sourcing from China earlier. Now with the China giving issues and it's a lockdown, etc., with a lot of uncertainty in the production that impacts the global supply chain. So some of the component sourcing is likely to shift to India. So that will be another big trigger, which we expect will happen for the component sourcing, from the India country, which will start happening now. So these will be big triggers. Then obviously there'll be more products coming into the play. They have a very specialization in the rice build, where Escorts is a weaker player. So they are intending to bring those products into India, and Escorts will be the obvious, choice, and it will be advantage for us, to really also penetrate the southern market, where we are very weak player today. So I think these are some of the synergies. Besides, I think a lot of expansion and modernization which is planned to happen, and I think there's a global R&D which is going to get set up now in India, which will cater to the global requirement. So the service exports will also happen from India. And with the single entity structure, I think all this will get rooted through this company, which is a positive for all the shareholders.
That's true. So just one number, you said that the big trigger on the operational side is localization of engines, which will take 2 years, but there will be significant cost saving post-localization. What could the quantum of cost saving look like for you?
So normally, if you look at the production, what is happening overseas versus India, there you see a 25 to 30% cost reduction which can happen by sourcing from India. So that's the component which also gets applied to the component sourcing, what I will do from India. So same thing will apply to the engine manufacturing also. So I think that's the sort of trigger. And engine roughly reflects 1/3 of the cost of a tractor. So it's a significant chunk for the overall profitability for the company.
That's great to hear, and I think that's what the street is responding to as well. Mr. Madan, thanks a lot for giving us this information. So that's Escorts Kubota. They have amalgamated their JV entities. They expect that by FY24, the JV entities will turn profitable, and there's significant cost saving that they're looking at as they localize engine production in India. That will take about 2 years' time, but there could be a 25 to 30% drop in costs post-localization. Lots of positive triggers there for the company. Let's slip into a quick break. Manisha Gupta will be here in just a bit with Commodity Corner. Stay tuned.